Hello, everyone, and welcome to On the Safe Side, a monthly podcast hosted by the editors of Safety and Health magazine, the official magazine of the National Safety Council. This is Alan Ferguson, Associate Editor at Safety and Health, and with me, as always, are my fellow Associate Editors, Barry Bettino and Kevin Drewley. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Alan.
Hey there, Alan.
Thank you so much for joining us for our October 2025 episode, number 68 in our history, and this month's episode is generously sponsored by Superior Glove. Many of our listeners have had a unique journey into the safety profession, and we'd like to hear more about it for our My Story feature in our magazine. Submit a personal story and encourage a safety colleague to do so by emailing us at safehealth@nsc.org. In this month's episode, we'll examine some highlights from the October issue of Safety and Health magazine. Cam Mackey, the president and CEO of the International Safety Equipment Association, and Andrew Funk, chairman of ISEA's Hand Protection Product Group, will join us for 5 Questions With. And we'll share some stories you may have missed in What Else? The In Case You Missed It segment. Is everybody ready? Let's go.
The October issue of Safety and Health includes a feature story examining recovery-friendly workplaces and ways employers can help employees with substance use disorders. As Barry writes, research shows that the number of workers in recovery who are employed continues to grow each year. By offering a supportive environment, organizations can make things safer for workers in recovery while enhancing their workplace culture. It's important to note, however, that recovery-friendly programs aren't one-size-fits-all, and organizations are encouraged to approach strategies at their own pace. The issue also includes a feature story I wrote covering safe trenching and excavation. This work poses multiple risks, particularly collapses. The feature explores what is required under OSHA's standard on trenching and excavation, which is 1926 Subpart P, as well as the importance of planning ahead for trench work and other strategies for working safely. And there's plenty more in the October issue, which you can find either in your mailbox or online at safetyandhealthmagazine.com.
Superior Glove is a leading innovator in the design and manufacture of safety gloves, sleeves, and complementary personal protective equipment, protecting workers across the globe in every major industry. Superior Glove believes workers shouldn't have to choose between comfort and safety, so it innovates to fit the protection workers need into comfortable PPE they want to wear. Learn more at superiorglove.com.
More than 100,000 workers suffer hand injuries on the job each year, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Proper hand protection can protect workers against cuts, punctures, burns, and crush injuries. Here to discuss the ins and outs of hand protections in our 5 Questions With segment are Cam Mackey and Andrew Funk from the International Safety Equipment Association. Cam is the president and CEO of ISEA, and Andrew serves as the chair of the ISEA Hand Protection Product Group, and he was instrumental in the recent revision of the ANSI ISEA 105 standard. Cam and Andrew, thank you so much for joining us this month on the Safe Side.
Thanks, Barry.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Well, first of all, where we want to start is, what are some of the biggest challenges that you guys hear facing workers and employers when it comes to hand protection?
I'll kick us off, Barry. Man, that's a really great question. I think the first thing is there are an unbelievable amount of options out there in getting hand protection, thanks to advances in knitting, lots of new fibers and materials out there, coatings. Andrew will give a lot more smart details on it. There are more choices than ever before. Number one, you really need to inform yourself before buying this critical type of PPE. Don't just assume that what was out there last year is all that you can get now. The buyer needs to educate themselves about the options. So work with your manufacturer partners, work with the distributors. Second is, as we know, all jobs aren't created equal. You might have dozens of different types of work being performed on a specific job site, whether you're in oil, gas, construction, et cetera. So make sure that you're conducting an up-to-date job hazard analysis and giving the workers the right type of glove for their unique situation. As we know, one size doesn't fit all from comfort, and it's certainly not one size fits all from a protection perspective.
One of the things that's always amazing to me is we've got some stats at ISEA. 70% of workers don't wear hand protection at all. And we also have some data that 30% of the workers don't wear the right kind of glove for the task. So right there, you're starting with some really big challenges. if they're not wearing the right glove for the task. And certainly one of the things that we want to make sure is if people are getting cut injuries, if people are getting impact injuries, to identify those properly and get the right glove for that task going on. We see this all the time from our perspective. We have a lot of manufacturers in our hand protection group, making sure that our customers are aware of not only of what's the right glove for the task, but are their workers actually wearing the gloves that they've asked them to wear? So often we see that the right glove often is just the glove that they're willing to wear. It's amazing once that happens how the injuries go down.
Barry mentioned in the intro to this segment, the ANSI ISEA 105 standard got some updates in 2024. What changes should safety professionals be aware of?
The biggest one is the labeling change. That's going to be the one that's going to impact the most people because they're going to see a new label. It is a pentagon-shaped symbol with either ANSI/ISEA 105 or ANSI/ISEA 105-2024 above it. And within the pentagon symbol, you'll see three markings. Cut is at the top, abrasion is at the left, puncture is at the right. The cut, people should be familiar with that. Cut levels, you'll see A1 through A9, abrasion 1 through 5, puncture 1 through 5. So they're usually familiar with each one of the numbers, but they're not often familiar with this new symbol. You're starting to see it on a lot of product, a lot of packaging as it's coming into wider use. The thing that people need to remember first is cut top, abrasion left, puncture right for this marking. The second big thing that we're talking about a lot with 105-2024 are some requirements now on product and packaging. It's no longer acceptable just to say ANSI cut level. We've been doing it a lot and for a number of years now. The requirement is actually ANSI/ISEA 105 cut level or whatever hazard you're listing on the product and packaging. On websites, on blog posts, on sell sheets, you have to actually use ANSI/ISEA 105-2024 when you're describing any of these hazards. You can't just say ANSI abrasion level 2. It needs to be the whole thing. Then the third big requirement, and this doesn't impact everyone, but it's a heat testing requirement. We have put in a requirement that can be no evidence of charring, ignition, melting, dripping, separation, and no shrinkage greater than 5% when you've performed the ASTM heat test as part of ANSI ISA 105. If you have any of those, then it actually fails the test. That pretty much sums up, I think, the big changes that we've made.
What is the hand protection products group working on currently?
So we've got a couple of things kind of in the hopper here. The first thing is, obviously, we've come out with a new marking system, the Pentagon marking. It's a big requirement. It involves a lot of manufacturers making changes to their hands, especially when you've got palm dips, the back of the hand, labels, a lot of their websites, everything. But we didn't include some other hazards in that marking. And so we're talking right now about developing marking standards, consistent marking standards for those hazards. Heat, flame, some of these others that aren't listed there, hypodermic needle. Trying to have consistent marking standards because right now, especially with some of those, it's a little bit of a wild, wild west out there. And people just making up markings and making up a lot of things. And we want to provide some guidance to the marketplace so that the users and safety professionals can make some informed decisions on the stuff that they're getting. We want to make sure, too, that we're not creating additional confusion or requiring yet another expensive package update. I know that a lot of the manufacturers have now put in this new Pentagon marking. We'd hate to everybody have to redo everything again. Finally, one of the things that we're working on is renewing the 138 impact standard. That's a separate standard from 105 right now. Every so often we go through and we review every standard that we've got. We want to make sure that it's up to date, it's meeting all the requirements, that it's effective out there. And we're right now in the early process of renewing the 138 impact standard.
Hey, you know what? I use gloves or I buy gloves on behalf of my workers. I have lots of opinions, and I'd love to share those with ISEA. Fantastic. Go to our website, safetyequipment.org. Give us a call or drop us a note. We're also always looking for members of what we call a consensus body review. Translated to plain English, when we're working on standards, it is absolutely critical to have perspectives from end users, from workers, from the channel, from government test labs, you name it. If you're interested in contributing and reviewing draft standards, whether it's hand protection or something else, just go to our website, safetyequipment.org, and you can learn more.
Great. We appreciate you mentioning that, Cam. Thank you. And we wanted to ask you also, when folks are looking for the right hand protection, what are some questions that safety professionals should ask of their workers and of manufacturers?
Do a job hazard analysis, right? Again, don't assume that just because you did it last year that it's evergreen. So do that analysis and find out from a safety perspective what your needs are. Andrew said something really incredibly bright, which is pay attention to what people are actually wearing. Any of the great manufacturers in ISEA or outside can make the best glove in the world, but if people won't wear it, right, it's all for naught. Work with your fantastic employees and contractors to make sure that you're not leaving comfort as an afterthought. First thing is you got to do a fit test. Involve your workers, do some trials. That way you can really kind of see what your workers are gravitating to. You really want to ask the declaration of conformity. There is a ton of high quality, incredible PPE out there. But as we know, sometimes if we go to certain online marketplaces, we think this might be too good to be true. So any manufacturer should be happy to give you their declaration of conformity, which basically what that means is shows that they've tested it and that it performs. If it says it's an A9 cut level, that piece of paper says, yep, we've tested it on this date. That's what I'd recommend. Andrew, anything on your end?
A couple of things. First, making sure to really dig in. Sometimes there are hazards going on in a workplace that the workers don't even always identify. And you have to make sure that you've gone in, done a safety assessment, really looked at what their hazards are and talked to those workers and asked them what they're experiencing. One of the other things to make sure too is from a manufacturer perspective, not only what their product solutions are, but what their support structure is. Making sure that they can back that product up if you have a problem. What's their response going to be? Are they going to be able to help you? One of the issues that I see sometimes, with folks just going on to online marketplaces and buying something is who knows who that company is on the other side. You don't know anything about them. They may be making claims good up to 1,000 degrees. And I can even just visually tell that glove is never going to be good up to 1,000 degrees. You don't know who this company is that is standing behind it. Making sure that that's a company that can include customer support, especially if there are problems.
As a final question, gentlemen, what are some online resources that our listeners can use to learn more about hand protection?
Barry and Andrew both mentioned some nice statistics, whether it's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. NIOSH has done some great research. OSHA has as well. If you're a safety professional or a worker, you're probably saying, Cam, I just want to go to one place in plain English. Here at ISEA, we have a website, it's safetyequipment.org/gloves. And you're going to find pretty much everything you need on that page. So Andrew did a great job explaining this new marking approach for 105 gloves and arm protection. That has all sorts of resources, including stuff in really high res. So if you want to print it out, wallpaper your walls with it, you probably could. That way you can have it in your facilities to remind workers or anyone, hey, great, is A5 better than A9 for cut resistance, et cetera. There are some great resources there. There are also some of the nice facts that are from BLS and OSHA and other places there. So again, safetyequipment.org/gloves. It's kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of valuable, straightforward, plain spoken information about hand protection standards.
There's one of the items that's on that website in particular, I would encourage people to print out, refer to. Not only does it have that Pentagon symbol on there and what each one means, it's got all of those listings, like he said, of cut levels, what they protect against, applications by cut level. It's called Key to Hand Classifications. And this document, honestly, is one of the best things that I've seen. I think everybody should print it out, have it up, like you said, posters on the wall. It should be all over the place because it's a really wonderful document.
Great. Well, gentlemen, we truly appreciate you sharing your insights with us. It's so great to have you with us on the safe side. Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation.
Really appreciate it.
In case you missed our In Case You Missed It segment, it has returned following a brief respite as we recorded last month's episode live from the Colorado Convention Center for the 2025 NSC Safety Congress and Expo. To get things started, in case you missed it, as part of Congress and Expo, NSC recently recognized 5 individuals with its highest honor, the Distinguished Service to Safety Award. NSC first presented the award in 1942 to recognize organizations and individuals who work to reduce occupational injuries. The recipients this year were Kevin Cannon from the Associated General Contractors of America, Sean Carvalho from Shawmut Design and Construction, Jay Harf from Xylem Incorporated, William Jack Jackson, a friend of the podcast and former guest from Safe Start, and Veera Kumar Mohan from Abu Dhabi Vocational Education and Training Institute. As you might expect, he was the furthest traveler this year, had corresponded with some of the winners, and he had said between flight time, waiting time, and connections, he estimated the trip from the United Arab Emirates to Denver by way of a connecting flight in Chicago took about 25 hours. As everyone who received the award and gets the medal will tell you, the journey is only part of it, that it's just something that's so worth it to them to be recognized for this. So it's always uplifting to see people rewarded and just to hear from them. Many said, including Vera, that when they get that medal and get recognized from Lorraine Martin on the stage there at the separate luncheons and other entities, that's not a culmination of their career by any means. Vera had said, quote, "More than anything, it reminded me of the responsibility we all share to keep striving for safer workplaces and to continue making a positive difference in people's lives." Alan, how about you? What did you miss?
Well, first, thanks for that, Kevin. That was very nice. Yeah, we got to hear a lot from OSHA at the aforementioned Congress and Expo. And in case you missed it, OSHA recently announced an extension of its post-hearing comment period for its proposed heat rule. And those organizations and individuals who filed a notice of intent to appear for the public hearings that took place this past summer now have until October 30th to submit comments. And OSHA hinted that they would do this at the current activities update technical session, which was at Congress and Expo on September 16th. And OSHA officials also said during that presentation that they'll be moving aggressively on a lockout tagout update, and that revised rule could appear as soon as December. And the link to the show daily story on the current activities update should be on the podcast page, just so if you want to investigate more. And OSHA officials also gave more insights into their proposed changes to substance-specific respirator requirements, including asbestos and lead, and shared some of its resources on suicide prevention and awareness. Barry, what about you?
Well, thanks for that, Alan. Tuesday was a very active day for OSHA at the Congress and Expo, so it was good to see all of those folks there. And again, as Alan mentioned, in our show notes, we'll have the links to some of those stories. You can check those out. What I wanted to share this month, gentlemen, was Congress and Expo is a very active time also for NSC. NSC has announced a new resource that is intended to help employers establish an opioid overdose response plan. And this is a free tool. It's called the Overdose Emergency Planning Tool. And what this tool is going to do is it's going to help guide employers who are developing a response plan. And that response plan, of course, is going to include having naloxone readily available. There is some statistics from NSC that drug overdoses represent 10% of workplace deaths, yet 72% of employers do not have an adequate supply of naloxone, which is an opioid overdose reversal medication. How the tool works is that users will provide some information. The tool will then generate individualized findings and some detailed recommendations. And then each one of the folks who puts their information in, they will go ahead and act on those recommendations. Our CEO and our boss, Lorraine Martin, mentioned in a press release, quote, "Just as we expect to find fire extinguishers and AEDs in workplaces, naloxone should be part of every organization's emergency preparedness plan," unquote.
Well, thank you for that. No, it's a busy time for the three of us, for all our colleagues, and as Barry said, for NSC at large. But no, we know we saw quite a few of you at the safety huddle and just out and about on the show floor and various other places. So it was nice to be in league again with everybody. If there's something you think that we missed, please let us know by emailing us at safehealth@nsc.org.
Thank you for joining us for this month's episode of On the Safe Side. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of it with us wherever you choose to listen. You can check out any of our past episodes by visiting our website, safetyandhealthmagazine.com/podcasts. That includes episode 40 from June of 2023, which examined our story about eye and face protection and featured an interview with Tara Kyle from Michigan OSHA, who talked about safety walkarounds. We send a special thank you this month to our sponsor, Superior Glove. The original music for this podcast was composed by Steve Maslin. Thank you, Steve. And as always, we thank all of our NSC colleagues behind the scenes who make this podcast go. We'll be back next month to have more safety-related discussions, talk to trusted voices from around the profession, and hopefully make you smile a little. In the meantime, please stay on the safe side.